Thank you. Thank you, Mirza. Good evening. So I'm going to talk to you. I'm Garrett MacDonald from Kochava. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to our partners InMobi for not only hosting the event, but also bringing the community together to discuss some very important topics. And so happy to be here. For Kochava, I run our sales organization globally. We're about 4 years old. We are an attribution analytics and optimization platform. We serve both sides of the ecosystem. On the one hand, both advertisers who are looking to understand their audience, and then publishers who are looking to have that end-to-end measurement framework. And so I'll talk to you a little bit today about measurement and why it's so critical to the success as you are investing in user acquisition or re-engagement with partners like InMobi. For those of you that don't know, this is arguably the godfather of advertising, who said, I know I'm wasting half of my ad spend, I just don't know which half it is. And while that principle was true up until and including 2012, that principle has been sort of solved for by technology solutions, one of which obviously attribution and analytics. And so for a lot of advertisers, for a lot of developers, it's a really difficult, tricky task to be able to push that heavy boulder up the hill and really not only understand their audience, but understand precisely where I'm getting the most valuable users, because obviously everybody's trying to shift their spend towards where they're acquiring the most valuable users. For most advertisers and most developers, this problem, this challenge of moving that heavy boulder up a big hill just does not scale. You simply can't add enough bodies to really examine spreadsheets and tabular statistical data and be able to infer where you're getting the most valuable users. And so, programmatic has emerged as the common framework for how media is bought or sold, and was supposed to solve for a lot of challenges that exist in the ecosystem with very manual processes and very inefficient mechanisms for buying. But at the end of the day, it's still like the scenes from Trading Places, where it's a lot of shouting orders and passing IOs and very inefficient processes, and header bidding comes out, and now it's all of a sudden the best thing since sliced bread. It's going to solve everybody's problem. And part of the problem, this is my theory, is that most of the conversations around RTB and programmatic bidding are really focused on improving the performance and lowering the cost. So you've got this like hockey stick growth of users, and your costs are just driving to this race to the bottom, which is obviously not good for the publishers. And then for the advertisers, for the developers, it's really just training the ad networks and the DSPs and the SSPs and the exchanges and all the other acronyms to sell cheap, untargeted clicks. And as any of us know that have been in the business longer than a couple of years, some clicks never convert, some conversions never spend a red cent in my app, and the only way I get paid is if users spend money or engage in certain pieces of content within my app. And so no matter how many ad ops people you have, no matter how geeked out you get on the data, sometimes it really is a manual process that just won't scale. And so there are solutions, much like Kochava, that have solved for a lot of this technology challenge, the reporting challenge, the billing challenge, different time zones, different pricing models, different rates, and being able to stitch all that together to really streamline the effectiveness of campaigns. Because the fact of the matter is, there's a dozen studies out there, like the one from InfoLinks, that says effectively we're not doing a very good job of reaching users that are a qualified, targeted audience that's most likely to interact or engage with my brand, product, or service, whatever it may be. And so the ads get louder, video emerges, ads get bigger, overlay, interstitials get more in my face. The rise of native ad experiences, supposedly to solve all of the challenges. And at the end of the day, it's still the same 6 or 7 common issues that most developers will experience when they're trying to scale campaigns or when they're just trying to acquire users and grow their audience. Some of which you see up here on the screen. The fact of the matter is, you guys can read them, but the fact of the matter is that for a lot of us, the problem is not easily solved by just throwing money at the problem. We really need to find ways to achieve both precision targeting and massive scale. And right now, there are only a few players in the space, InMobi one of them, that can really achieve that kind of precision targeting and massive scale. And so it's really one of the byproducts of our product, but any attribution solution really should solve for the issues with not only immature ad tech, but being able to stitch all of these different disparate sources together to create a visual picture that's easy to understand off of all of the statistical tabular data from not only just impressions and clicks and all of the downstream events and activities, but also just working with multiple partners. And so, it's a confusing space. It wouldn't be a deck on ad tech if it didn't have the Lumascape chart. Gets even more confusing when you look at the overall MarTech landscape. And so it's your job as a developer to sort through all of the noise in a very fragmented ecosystem and find out, if there are 250 mobile ad networks that are all selling mobile with a twist, which ones really have the right audience for me or for my brand, product, or service, whatever it is that I may be selling. And again, ad tech is super immature. Programmatic is a solution, but sometimes you need to have the systems in place to make sense of it all. And not just a function of adding bodies to comb through spreadsheets. So there are solutions that solve for that with attribution, analytics, and optimization, having that measurement directly coupled with the optimization to really streamline the workflow as a marketer, but also improve the return on ad spend as an advertiser, and then direct the advertisers to the publishers that actually matter in the ecosystem. Because as in any business, there are good actors and bad actors, and there are partners like InMobi that really have that reach and scale. So again, we talked about the billing challenges, reporting challenges, pricing models, rates, being able to stitch that together. With a unified single SDK or server-to-server option. Make sure to, if you don't have the ability to implement an SDK in the app, work with a partner that has a server-to-server option. Obviously, your systems need to have a robust server infrastructure in order to support that. But there are partners in the space that either have a super lightweight, easy to integrate SDK, or a server-to-server option if that's not, if an SDK is not the right route. Make sure you work with an unbiased attribution partner that's not in the business of buying and selling media. You don't house your data with the same people that are buying media for obvious reasons, but real-time analytics, these are kind of some of the table stakes of measurement. Visualizations, be able to take a bunch of tabular data and make a visualization out of it that you can actually make sense. Make sure that it's actionable intelligence. Again, if the measurement is decoupled or separated from the optimizations, it's adding another step and more time, which decreases the likelihood that you'll be able to use that intelligence to influence your media buying decisions to improve the return on ad spend. There's a lot of different integrations that are required from a measurement partner. So not only having the direct hooks to analytics and BI tools that you may use, but also in-app messaging platforms, and also just sheer supply sources. So super publishers like Facebook, Twitter, iAd, Pandora, YouTube, and Yahoo, or DSPs, ad networks like InMobi, and publishers direct. And so make sure that the breadth of integrations is there to give you access to immediate scale and massive reach right out of the gate. Most of us are building and writing across the main platforms, but having the SDKs to support growth and across multiple platforms is important as you develop new games or apps. That's another super important thing. Obviously, real-time analytics, having the dashboard visualizations to be able to drill down into cohorts and understand not only my high-paying users, but also my dormant users as defined by me, not some other third party. So I may define dormant users differently from one game or app than another, just like I may determine a valuable user different from one app to another. And it's important that that's based on my definition, not somebody else's definition. Configurable nature of of a measurement partner is critical to your success. Not only being able to configure the look back window, which is how far they look back to match a click or an impression to an actual install or post-install event, but also flexible in the actual attribution logic. So for example, if I'm in mobile web, I'm going to have different characteristics than I'm in an in-app environment. So it's important to have the ability to configure the attribution logic to my benefit rather than having that defined by some third party. So configurable nature, flexibility to control, all user defined, point and click within the dashboard. Configurable event management. There are some measurement partners that are smarter than others. If it would be my recommendation to work with a partner that gives you the flexibility to configure the events and then toggle them on or off right from the dashboard, as opposed to doing code changes and app updates, which we all know how few and far between dev cycles are. So obviously improves and decreases your total cost of ownership in working with a partner that gives you the ability to toggle events on or off right from the user interface. Integrations, again, can't say it enough. Access to massive scale and reach right out of the gate. Those are supply partners, analytics and BI tools, as well as in-app messaging platforms or any other signals, whether it's app store data or user data, first and third party data, contextual, behavioral, audience. Being able to tie that together with your attribution data is super critical to ensuring optimal results. So that's pretty much a good overview of the attribution, the measurement space in general, and things to think about and consider. I would say the Trojan horse in all of this is having a team that you can trust and count on when there are issues. Working with a bunch of different ad network or ad channel partners in the ecosystem, there are invariably things in an immature ad tech space that we live in that can go wrong, or that you can benefit from having a dedicated account management team. There is no such thing as a Renaissance account manager, that one account manager that's just going to solve all of your problems, the technical, the performance-based, and the operational. And so it's important to work with a partner that has a team behind you that knows the goals of the campaign, they know all the partners on plan, they know the value indicators and other metrics that you're trying to achieve, and they're there with you every step of the way to ensure optimal results. And I think that's perhaps one of the most critical things in our space. New tech is emerging all the time. There's sea change events that almost happen on a quarterly basis, where some of the big super publishers are just moving the goalpost, and what you thought was going to be constant is now different. And so it's important to have a team, a technology, and a platform that can help you navigate those sea change events. And that's pretty critical for you as you embark on UA or even re-engagement or trying to scale campaigns. How am I doing on time? Any questions so far? Okay.
Same day fee?
Say again?
You can get up and running the same day. That's because you're doing back-end server-to-server stuff with the networks?
Yes. SDK deployment, we can, most of the SDKs that are out there now are, a couple lines of code that you drop into an app, project build, you submit to the App Store, you get approved in 3 to 7, maybe 10 days. The thing that will take some time is instrumenting your URI deep linking schema or instrumenting the post-install events. Sometimes those can take 5 minutes. You've got 10 events, another hour. Most SDK deployments can be done same day. We've refined the technology enough that most competent developers could implement an SDK in a day. Then you wait, 3 days to 10 days for App Store approval, and you're off to the races. Server-to-server option, obviously your system has to have a robust server infrastructure to be able to record and report on events in real time as they happen in the wild and be able to send that signal to your measurement partner. Your measurement partner probably has the technology to make sense of that, or to receive that signal and then sew up and zip up the attribution data. And for us, you know, we have the ability to, you know, integrate new supply sources in one day. Not all measurement partners have that capability, but most, you know, of our technology is built on an adapter framework, which is a productized integration, a little bit more technical. So, any other questions? How are we doing on time? Good?
Good. We're getting close.
Cool. Okay, close could mean 5 minutes, could mean 20 minutes. Something that has emerged in the last sort of 6 months, view-through attribution did not exist in mobile last year, which is remarkable. What is important about view-through attribution and being able to track from impression through to click, through to conversion, launch, and LTV and revenue reporting is being able to close the feedback loop on return on ad spend. So if I know my cost of acquisition and I know I can track from impression through to launch and LTV, I can really sew up that whole daisy chain of events and be able to really understand my marketing effectiveness and where to make changes to intelligently influence my media spend. So what's important to that is, anecdotally, Kochava, we've seen 5 to 25% lift on what would otherwise be recorded and reported on as an organic install. We are firm believers, I am a firm believer that nothing is organic, everything is attributed to something or influenced by something. It's just that you don't have the right tools to measure it. And so it's important to work with a partner that has the capabilities, the technology, and the team, and the resource, and the product to be able to deliver that to you and give you those visualizations. So, you know, there are interesting things that you can generate from impression tracking.
For
Do you have a
this
question?
use case of the organic install, the user has seen multiple ads before. In your experience, how many ads does the user usually see until they lead to that organic install?
That's a good question. I'd have to research that and ask my data science team. No, I'm just kidding. I actually don't know what the averages are. I'm not even understanding the question. You're saying how many ads does the user have to see before they convert?
So let's say, like, I've seen a bunch of ads for Netflix, right?
Right.
But then I go to the App Store and then download Netflix myself without clicking on an ad for Netflix.
Oh.
So the use case you're describing is like, hey, I saw those ads and it affected my decision to go to the App Store and download it, but you're saying like there's that missing link.
Right.
So I'm wondering how many ads do I have to see until I go to the App Store to download it?
I think as in, and this is where I'm punting your question because I don't know the answer. I think it depends on the product, the app, the use case. I don't have an exact or even an average for you because I think it varies between app and category. And I'll give you an example. For a user that sees a dating ad, what we've seen is there's high intent there. So they typically download and install and open the app right away. Whereas if it's a banking or a finance app, it's like, I need this app, but I'm going to get to that tonight when I get home or over the weekend when I don't have anything going on. I'm watching football or whatever it is. So I think it differs on the app, the category, as well as the use case and the environment. If that's a good way to not answer a question. Okay, cool. Sorry. I will find out an answer for you though. Go ahead.
So is it the last impression which is counted as to the attribution or the first one? Suppose if I'm seeing 10 ads and 2 are from InMobi, 2 are from other partners.
Correct.
Who do you attribute to this system?
Correct. Yeah, last impression. Any others?
Correct. This is more of a, Kochava being one of the biggest players, one of the big players in the industry for attribution, recognition, and identification, right? What is the biggest challenge right now for the attribution industry? I know the view-through attribution you already, maybe this is the one.
Yep.
But what do you foresee right now as the biggest challenge, a problem to be solved by the attribution industry, given the fact that, things do change every quarter? So is it like a problem that you guys are solving right now, industry is facing?
Yeah, so what maybe a personal opinion, I used to be in RTB and programmatic and media buying. Now I focus strictly on the measurement. But what I know is happening out there is that as a developer, as an advertiser looking to invest in UA, you've got to really sort through all of the noise in the slides that I showed you earlier. A lot of time what that means is placing a test budget, test buy with multiple ad networks, not knowing exactly which one is going to produce the best results for me, my product, my brand, and my app. And so what we've seen is that that's the one probably single most biggest challenge is there's 250 mobile ad networks that are all selling mobile with a twist. And it becomes hard for a marketer, back to the Lumascape chart, to really make sense of like, wait, these guys are in 5 boxes on the Lumascape chart. What do they really do? How do I really get to the bottom of what their core competency is? Because I think there's just overly opportunistic companies that have raised, $5 million and they're only making a couple million after year 2. So they just spread themselves and try and be everything to everyone. That's really hard for a marketer, for a developer, for an advertiser to sort through. And so, we have developed technology to solve for the workflow issues, not only in troubleshooting campaigns. 45 emails later, you find out somebody forgot a curly brace. There are notifications and ways to trigger and alert both publishers and advertisers of these, simple ad operations issues, but also improving the return on ad spend for the advertiser, and then driving the advertisers directly to the publishers that actually matter. So based on my campaign-specific targeting requirements, I want to know exactly which one of these 250 ad networks have my audience that has the high likelihood, the high propensity to convert based on my targeting objectives or my known audience or my lookalike audience that I've developed. So I think that, as well as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, that measurement in the absence of optimization, unless there's a direct link, programmatic or otherwise, it won't exist in 2016 and beyond. It just won't exist. And that's my prognostication for the day. I don't know. So again, attribution is critical to your success in scaling campaigns. It's a very confusing, twisted, fragmented ecosystem. You need to have a partner that you can trust, not only in technology and people and product and service, but also breadth of integrations and innovative tech that's, solving complicated problems on both sides of the ecosystem, both advertisers on the one hand and publishers on the other. Thank you for listening, and if there's any questions, I'll be around for a little bit. Thank you.